I don't understand.
And if I don't keep the trend thought going, it'll.
Don't understand.
It still says. Oh.
Now it's going. in.
Recording in progress.
Okay, thanks.
All right, I apologize. Okay, we can go ahead and start it.
I think if that's a question, then we should figure out a framework of asking that.
Right, because it's
question. How
basically
does that
asking,
happen?
it's like,
That's,
you know, what is your philosophical framework for guiding the development?
I'm sure they've been asked that before, so I don't think it's gonna be an oddball question for them.
absolutely.
It's an oddball question to me because I haven't done this before, but it's not gonna be an oddball question to companies who've done this. before.
So let's include that.
So it's like, for example, for Nine Dot Arts, right, with the River Mile, they did art and cultural policies and programming
Mhm.
for just Nine Dot Arts, public art integration, localized art economy, financing and organizing strategies, mobilizing an art and culture organization. So I'm sure that there's like different, I think when we hire a team, we can get into like what areas we want them to focus on, but I do remember like in some of the plans that we saw, they talk, it's like almost like a SWOT analysis kind of in ways where they identified like areas of opportunity in public spaces that could be enhanced. And then what's in the existing collection. So I think that we can figure out what categories make sense to all of us to include, but I think that there is some discussion about like, you know, what's on the horizon or what are future developments.
But it's a question to the companies and their internal philosophy about how they take in
Sure.
the information and what they come back at.
No, I think it's a valid
That's what
question.
my question
Yeah.
is basically.
Right.
Okay.
Process.
And they will be joining in a moment. Is there, want to
have-
start off with one person and go in an order, or how do you guys want to manage yourselves?
That's true. They're coming in. Well, you should ask your question.
You want to start off with her question?
Sure.
You started it.
My question was a little bit similar, but this is how I worded it or how I was thinking about it. I said, public art is a hot topic in this town, which has never had any public art except for a few murals and fire hydrants. How do we handle the public blowback? Have you dealt with this
Well,
before?
that's number
That's a
four.
little different.
That is
That's a
different.
little
That's different.
Yeah.
That's different.
That's more public management.
Yeah,
That's politics.
yeah.
Kind of is.
They're
But
not
that's
gonna- they're gonna be
than
out by then.
philosophy. That's
Huh?
different than what she.
Yeah, no, I'm asking that
Okay.
underlying.
She's asking something else.
Generalizing.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm asking underlying philosophy. Well, I don't feel like that should be question number one, though,
Okay.
Yeah.
because that's a hard.
Wait
one.
until they're warmed up.
Yeah.
Well,
That's probably like-
maybe,
that's probably
and
about a
maybe
three.
in their presentation.
Well,
I mean,
They
yeah.
bring that
Since
up.
we're almost there, right?
Yeah, they haven't joined yet.
Do
Okay.
you want to
Can we
call
talk, can
people?
we just decide
Yeah,
which
sure.
questions we're gonna ask and where we want to put that so that we can be
Yeah.
in sync, so to speak?
6 of them.
Does that make sense?
I mean, personally, I'd like to just ask a question that I'm inspired by what they've said.
Are they gonna do
So-
a presentation first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brief.
Brief.
Like they'll say something and that'll spark a thought. So for me, I don't know that I want to commit to a specific question on this list, but if that's all easier for you, you know,
Well,
I'll
the
just
only
wait.
thing that I would like for us to consider is if we have some within an arena, the same questions for everyone, so that when we get feedback from the same point of reference forward. Does that make sense?
That's like at least works for everyone.
Yes, that's all I'm saying, so that we go, we didn't ask that company that question.
Well, then that's your fault.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's only 6 of us, so there's
So I
many
would-
questions that
Yeah, I
we're
would
gonna
say
miss.
they'll maybe
20 minutes
Lisa
is not a lot of
as our
time.
chair,
that's what I
that
mean,
you
that's why I
start
was
with the question,
thinking,
and then
okay.
when someone is ready, they can look at you and then you can call on them, kind of.
I'm just saying, yeah.
Just so that way everyone's
Okay,
not copying
that's
and
what-
pasting.
Okay,
I may not have a question.
Or, yeah, so don't
I'm
even
gonna
look
stay.
out.
I'm gonna.
okay, I'm
I'm
going
listening.
around. Am I going around or am I?
Random.
I would say
Random.
you look at like, they'll look at
Okay,
you.
I'm just saying that for
From that
me,
list.
the question that kind of pops out to me because my previous question is question number 4.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start with that. It's kind of a specific question
Sure.
and then, but I think question number 1 is very good. I mean,
People can choose
they
and
can
then
make
not
all-
have.
we can all
Okay,
choose.
yeah,
Okay.
all right. Well, they haven't joined yet, so. I
Does anyone
haven't-
else have any of these questions? Resident,
Can I double check it with everybody?
Community aspect.
And I'll respond,
Curious
so.
on how they involve all like e-groups in the community.
Number two, I like
Right.
questions.
Yeah, number two.
Yeah, and in particular, our artists, I like to,
Oh.
that's when we want to do, in
That's what
particular.
it- And we so have
and
the
then
local
try
artists.
with it Also,
Do I
I
just take
think
opening up for questions? Or do I start a question and then? open it?
Yeah, you just say you're opening it up for questions.
yeah, and you're having a hard time getting in.
And then it's like,
Can you go to,
keep note of the
go
time.
to, Brisbane
Because
CA
We only have
.org
twenty minutes, right?
Yeah, so we may,
/
you might want to say like, okay, we're only have 5 minutes left for questions in case we start getting carried away.
Yeah, where's
A
the-
dash Zoom,
okay, well, that's right, big, right,
Oh, it's bigger?
big, right on the desk.
in the webinar.
Watch.
865 600.
She gets carried away.
Just a little bit more visible.
Uh,
Oh my God, you're so.
Did you have fun on Saturday?
Oh, it's a phenomenal woman. by
Is it?
my agile.
Oh, I thought I heard you get.
I did, oh, yeah.
So Brisbane, BRISBANE.
That's today.
I'm glad you came. I didn't see a
.org.
ticket come from you for until the very end.
A, P is in public art.
Okay.
PA
Come on,
dash
I'll-
Zoom.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
I had Rory and Sylvia.
I had
Sylvia was
babies.
late.
And then I can send it. Mhm.
I wasn't, because I was like, I got babies.
No,
But I'm like,
Mhm. Yeah, go ahead and try that.
Way too much,
All right.
way too much.
Bye-bye.
I'm having trouble re-entering,
Right.
I love it.
today.
And you probably don't even need to put in the web ID, just go to the.
You guys go straight home Saturday?
So hopefully Mr. Wood's okay. I did a vet.
Oh, yeah, I see you coming in. Okay, thank you. I apologize for that.
I did it all and put it in the community, in the little room. I made like a big pile of cardboard and paper and everything.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, this was fucking insane. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Okay, so, we're ready to get started. Hold on, wait. Okay. We're gonna wait just another
Somebody left a
minute.
plate
I
of
think
food
Olivia
in
has
the
a couple
microwave.
more people coming on.
It was black
Um,
and there was a nest of ants.
Oh,
Hundreds of ants.
Definitely justified, good response.
promote Olivia to panelist.
My bench
Rice was
arrived.
black. It was rice and beans, but it was like.
That's a little bit.
It was really.
Hi there, can you all hear and see me?
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize for that.
No, that's all right. My colleague Molly is having some trouble, so I had her go to brisbaneca.org/PAs-Zoom.
Yeah, PA dash Zoom.
Okay, I'm telling her, go to the link above.
Yeah.
And then she'll be invited to join the webinar, it looks like, instead of
Yes.
the meeting. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. We clicked on the link in the initial
Yeah.
email and it
Yeah.
kept saying like invalid link, so
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
apologize. for
that's
that.
all right. It's nice to see you all from afar. We have one of those fancy meeting softwares too, where you can like Zoom from afar and it's nice, but then at the same time, I don't get to see those folks in the back, so. Hi to all of you. Okay, Molly says that when she tries to go to this link,
Well, you
just takes her
got
back
in.
to Zoom.
But you just got into that link.
But if you just go to Zoom and put in the webinar ID.
You
that
could just go to
should do.
zoom.us and just put in that webinar ID as well. That should work as well.
Do you want us to read you out the number?
I mean, she just got in also. Yeah, I gave it to her, but yeah.
Because when I went to the Brisbane link, it didn't even have me enter a meeting ID.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I'm surprised she's having a hard time. She should just be able to go right to that link.
Just have her go to Zoom and
Put
then
in the.
enter a
the
meeting
number.
ID and then we'll give her the meeting ID. So she's not clicking on a link or anything.
Okay. And for the meeting ID, it is 865-606-0564.
Yes,
Recording in progress.
I was able to get it in
You
15.
do Zoom master plans as well?
Someone sure needs
Clearly
to.
not.
I know, well, we work on this every day. You'd think we know what we're doing by now.
Right,
If you just go through Zoom and put in the webinar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
that's all right.
Let's
She
see.
should get on.
Who's first? 9 dots.
Mhm.
And if she's unable to join, I can always start, but you know, should we be
Okay.
selected, Molly would be your lead consultant, so I definitely want to give you the chance to meet her.
Great.
Let's see.
Beat consultant.
She's typing for me. She says she just went to Zoom and entered that meeting ID and it's still doing the same thing for her.
Well, it's something on her end then, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, she does the brisbaneca.org/PA-Zoom. She should be able to get in, because like the same way you did.
And I just
Yeah.
clicked on participants and I chose copy invite link and
Mhm.
sent her that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Are you able to see from your end then if she's in the waiting room or anything
Yeah.
like that?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, we can see she's not here.
Yeah, she sent me a screenshot and she's getting that same invalid meeting ID.
I don't know, we just joined again on our phones and we got right in. On that same,
Bizarre.
She may need to update like the Zoom, you know. She may need to do an update or like restart Zoom entirely on her end
Or reset her.
or restart her computer or whatever.
Tom has his hand raised.
no, we're not taking comments or suggestions at the moment, sorry, Tom. It's okay, because we can push out the little bit of time, so it's equal time for everybody, I apologize.
No,
Sorry.
I'm sorry on our end. Do you all have some time if she does try restarting Zoom?
We built in a buffer between the interviews, so we have a
Okay.
couple of minutes. If you wanna just let her know and we can wait another minute or two for her to log in.
Yep, I'll just let her know.
And I just sent an email with the same link, but I'm sure you already sent that to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's gonna update her Zoom.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm worried. I want to exit so that I can call her and assist, but I worry if I exit, I might not get back in.
Oh,
You can put us on mute if you need to.
yeah.
Or you can mute yourself.
I mean, yeah, mute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we don't want to reschedule because, we have everybody lined up and we'd love to get the process going, so. And
I
I
get
do have my
get
phone,
that.
I'm checking email if other people have issues.
Okay, let me just give her a call.
If anybody doesn't have any other issues right now.
We're on mute?
No.
She's just on mute because she's troubleshooting on her end, but we're still live.
Heinz raised hand.
Might have a solution.
Mm-mm.
I don't know, Olivia.
Oh, maybe as a
Mhm.
solution.
But he's not too.
Is he here?
Having.
Yeah, I don't have anybody else trying to join at this time or have any issues.
Remove the whole microwave. And there was an explosion, like a nest. You need it. There was splatters all over the wall. Like, I think someone was cooking chili on the stove or something.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, Really good. It was really good for me to
There you go.
take inventory of all those things. Yeah, because then I can say, hey, this is really good.
Yeah, yeah.
At least it's like, yeah.
The carpet in the community, carpet in the little room is bad. Disgusting.
Oh. Who is Tom Hines?
He's, I guess,
Member of the.
member of the public.
He's got his hand in it?
It's not time for questions or advice or public. Yes.
She's trying to join by her phone, because one of you said that you did that just now, right? And it worked.
Mhm.
Yeah. She said it's so bizarre because she's been on Zooms all day long and hasn't had any issues. And
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
well, that's okay. Let me give her a moment to join my phone. I'll just get started.
Okay.
Cover the laptops.
Send her that invite link again. And you all don't see anything on your end of someone trying to join. Bizarre. Okay, well,
Participants at the bottom?
Olivia?
Oh, that's Olivia, but it's not,
It says, okay, yeah, no, because it's attendees, yeah.
I just.
well, no worries. Okay,
All right.
got all the tech difficulties. Shall we dive into it?
Sure, sure.
Thank you so much for inviting us to interview. And if it's all right, I do have a short presentation if I could share my screen.
Sure.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Move this over. All right, you can see this?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you again. And official introductions. My name is Olivia. I'm our marketing manager over at 9.Arts. So helped put the proposal together and of course would be assisting in the master plan development. And I just wanted to say, you know, we were excited about this one because it really aligns with our expertise in creative public engagement, public art planning, you know, really developing the partnerships, funding mechanisms, guidelines, all of the key elements that go along with wanting to fulfill a long-term vision as you all are looking for. So, next slide here, a bit about us. We are a national art consulting and creative placemaking firm that works with both public and private sector clients on arts and cultural experiences of all kinds to really produce positive social and economic benefits. So we've completed over 1,000 projects nationwide and in 5 countries and have generated more than 50 million revenue for the creative economy. And the reason we're able to be so successful is really because of these key pillars, we call them. So first of all, we're strategic partners. So whenever we work with a client, we are with you every step of the way. We get really ingrained in your roles and responsibilities, your processes, and we make sure that it's a true partnership. With that, we have a very collaborative process. You know, we hear all the time from clients that working with our process is one of the most fun parts of their days, and that the master planning process that we bring to the table is really an enjoyable part of their jobs. And so part of our collaborative process is really ensuring that, you know, all stakeholder opinions, particularly the public, are heard and valued and reflected, particularly in those final deliverables like the master plan. With that, community engagement is a priority for us. We like to focus on fun, you know, creative activities that can get the public involved. And we always think about, you know, how to come into a place that's new to us with a strengths-based approach, right? So not thinking about what a place needs or lacks, but really focusing on uplifting existing local assets, building connections, and trying to kind of optimize those efforts so that things are not happening in a silo. And so there is that long-term, you know, buy-in for a plan like this one. Unlike sole proprietors, we have a team of more than 30 specialists working nationwide. So it just gives us a depth and breadth of expertise that we found to really be unmatched. And then lastly, we have a commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and access. These values are ingrained in what we do, and we really try to push our clients to act on these values and take things a step further, especially in documents like this, like the plan. Next up, you may have read in our proposal, we have more than a decade of experience developing similar arts and culture plans, as well as working on, custom art curation and art activations. And I bring this up just to say that while I know that custom, art curation is not something that you're all looking for in this project, it actually is a real differentiator for us because we are working with artists every single day on large scale and smaller, more intimate public art projects. And because of that, we know how to implement. We know the barriers that arise, especially, when working with a city and trying to really get that public buy-in, but we also know what works. And so when it comes to master planning, we can write plans that are really actionable. They don't just sit on a shelf and sort of waste away, right? We want our plans to be very well understood, get buy-in from all those who are going to be needed to execute them, and to be something that, people can feel proud of and know that they can actually achieve the visions and the goals that we set out. With that, I think we just got Molly on the call.
Yeah, Molly was
Molly,
there.
She was here and then she fell off.
Oh, no.
I don't see her
Well,
anymore.
It could be an internet
Hopefully she'll-
connection. That's
She's
weird.
messaging with me. I think her internet's fine, but that's okay. Well, hopefully she'll pop back on. I'll just talk quickly about a couple of projects that are very similar in scope that we're working on right now. This is the city of Broomfield, Colorado. So similar to Brisbane, they have an art requirement, right? And they have guidelines, but they don't have a process for really seeing those through and having accessible public art projects that the community is involved in that fulfills those guidelines. So that's exactly what we're creating for the city of Broomfield. And again, it's really an implementation friendly plan where we're going to have like a clear roadmap for them as to how they can achieve really admirable public art projects that fulfill their art in public places policy. The goal of this plan is really focused on capacity building. We do not have a public art administrator, one person, they are relying on lots of different partnerships to get this work done. And I think that's something similar that we would want to look into for Brisbane. So this is on building capacity and focusing on community accessibility so that all these different partnerships can work together to achieve the goals of the plan. Similarly, I wanted to bring up Denver International Airport. I don't know if any of you have been to the airport, but we're really proud that it's got such a wonderful public art and exhibitions program. Airport is not a city, right? But you would be surprised the amount of stakeholders involved. Working with the DIA was like working with a small country. There was a ton of public investment, tons of different stakeholder groups to really be mindful of. And of course, everyone has different interests and needs. And so that's a lot to manage, but we were able to really put that to the test and create something incredible. In addition to, policy analysis and, developing the art location plans and typologies, we also did really widespread public engagement. So that included a passenger survey, surveys with the staff at DIA, being at the airport, being on the ground, asking people questions and making sure that travelers and those who worked there, specifically employees, felt really involved in the outcome of the plan. One of the things we're really excited about with this plan was that we created some guidelines for artwork selection and how to create, a really equitable call for artist proposals, right? So on this top picture, you can see this is the proposal that was just selected actually by an artist here in Denver called Detour. He's a Black local artist, and his proposal was selected because of guidelines that we helped put in place to help the committee at DIA select an underrepresented artist who had, a really scalable plan for this installation. So again, just showing how those guidelines that you put in the, you know, early stages, they end up leading to really incredible installations like this that cities like DIA, that like cities like Denver and places like DIA can feel proud of. And so with that, I know I probably went over my 5 minutes, so please hit me with some questions.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. That was a really good presentation. And should I just open it up for questions here? Does anyone have any questions about her presentation?
I have a question. Can you provide an example of, I mean, I get the sense that when I read this, it's a lot of fun. Can you give us an example of some of the ways that you involved the community into the making of your master plan, especially community members who come from an artistic background, or that is their craft, is making art?
Sure. Well, I would start by saying in any kind of public outreach, we always want to lean on local leaders first. So, you know, we know that there are artists in Brisbane doing great work, right? And so instead of coming in and saying, hey, we're going to host this art activation, we would rather partner with a local artist, pay them and facilitate the activation or the, you know, community engagement session in partnership with them, right? Because that allows them to sort of increase their exposure, get paid for an incredible opportunity. And, you know, we're not just coming in and saying, hey, we're new here and we're the leaders ready to do the work. We want to uplift someone who's already doing that great work. In terms of some activities we're working on, actually right now we're doing the first public art master plan for the city of Sunrise, Florida. Similar square miles, I think about to Brisbane, I believe. But one of the activations that we're doing with them is like, you can print out a really huge map, right? Or individual maps. And we say to people, hey, draw a trail through your city. Where would the public art be located? What kinds of public art would be there? And you can have a really fun dialogue with people that also allows them to sort of contribute to this map, right? And feel like they are part of some sort of collage or map. And then the most ideal outcome is that a local artist would use those maps to create some kind of installation that could live within city limits, right? And that feels like, oh, all of the community members' voices are reflected in this. So not only is it one installation, but it informs the guidelines that we put forth in our plan, right? About where art might be located, what types of art typologies are included, you know, how the audience or how the residents would interact with this art so that it's accessible and sort of encourages that further engagement and so forth. So that's one example of some of the sort of creative activations we like to do.
Karen.
You prompted a question. So there's going to be, because I'm on the city council, I'm thinking a little bit differently than just the public art situation. So we have several different things in the works right now that actually cross over into public art. Talking about our age-friendly cities certification and some of the things that have been requested. I'm just going to use the benches because benches come up in a lot of different places in our city. So from the aged perspective, benches is necessary to get them out so they can walk more. From an artistic perspective, that opens up a whole creative door. From joining the old part of Brisbane to the Northeast Ridge, the newer part of Brisbane, it helps the connectivity. So I'm in a position sort of thinking, oh, look where the art meets all these other things. How would you facilitate trying to join that? Did that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, here's Molly.
Hi, Molly. She made it.
I'm on a third device, so I'm not really sure why, but I'm so sorry, you guys. I've never seen anything like this, and my husband's a tech guy, and he's been over here trying to troubleshoot. So, hi, it's so nice to meet you all, and I'm sorry for my delay.
No,
I'm sure it was on our side too, so trying to problem solve that.
Olivia's done a great job so
Yeah.
far.
I have no doubt about it. She's an amazing human being.
Do you mind maybe just repeating that question so Molly can hear as well?
Okay, so Molly, I'm Karen, I'm on the city council. So when we're thinking about public art and this public art master plan, there are so many crossover areas that it's not just public art to me. We just became an age-friendly city, so from that perspective, and I'm using the term benches because it's one of my favorite words, doing benches around town so the seniors can walk, or not just seniors, but so people can walk short distances and sit and relax. But those benches hopefully are going to be artistic. And then from a different perspective of, we've got all of these trails that are quite lengthy. We could put benches that were artistic along these trails. And then we have Old Brisbane and New Brisbane, that we need to join together. Right now, they feel like almost still two separate little cities. And so from that perspective, from an artistic perspective, how would you address joining these different entities from a master art planning perspective? Did that make sense? First
Yeah.
of all. Okay.
100%. And I actually think that's such a great question, because your question is exactly why we advise people to put together an arts master plan instead of just sort of willy-nilly plopping art because they have money to plop art places, right? A lot of cities, unfortunately, and private developers kind of think about art at the end of the project, or at the, without a lot of thought. So maybe there's a new project going up, a new development. I know you guys have a handful, maybe it's like 20 projects right now that are in different stages that are private and city. I saw those on your website and I was like, there's a lot of opportunity here, and you want to be out in front of it as much as you can so that you can make sure that you're integrated with the design, integrated with the architecture, and thinking about these things before the infrastructure is actually built. And that hence the master plan coming into play. And so the way that we approach that in our in the way that we approach all of these, but really is first making sure that we hear from all of the proper stakeholders so that we know, hey, we think that, maybe we think that benches would be a really good idea. And then we go out, and talk to these different stakeholders, and maybe they have a different priority that we're not even thinking of. So first, hearing from the community and the stakeholders, which I didn't get to mention the international airport, Denver International Airport, but that was a massive amount of stakeholders, as you can imagine. And quite frankly, a small city out there, it's over 30,000 people a day just work there alone, let alone the amount of millions of people that travel through there every year. And so building that consensus as well in the community and amongst the stakeholders is super important, so that then when this master plan is put out there, we're all in alignment about the goals, the vision, the mission, the location planning. I noticed that you guys have a great trail system and a lot of wonderful parks, which I'm sure get used a ton, especially because you guys can be outside so much of the year. And we really want to be thoughtful about the entirety of Brisbane, old, new, upcoming, and making sure that the plan is holistic and addressing the things that need to happen right now and prioritizing those first. And then also thinking about what's the 5 to 10 year plan. Maybe there's a new hotel. I saw there was like a hotel and I think a biomed office coming online, or at least it's in proposal stage right now. And I thought, oh my gosh, well, this is a great opportunity for you guys to make sure ahead of time that we're talking to those private developers, because I saw you guys have that as part of your requirement in there as well. Like, they need to know that you guys are here and how to work with you properly from the get-go, so that when that building starts to take shape and break ground, it's not in conflict with the vision that you guys have for the city and the art in the city. So figuring out with you guys and the stakeholders and the community, what are the priorities, and then really sorting out for you and identifying ideal locations and art typologies. And I say typologies because we don't want to limit you guys to just sculpture. And I noticed that's in one of your, you have like 4 things that were outlined about community, and about, you actually had in there specifically that you wanted to make sure that everyone was involved in this and that was a placemaking tool. And so, and that you were architecturally integrated in each project. And to me, that is like the utmost importance for creating a great art city, is that early integration, because without it, it'll just look like an afterthought. So really making sure that we're all on board ahead of time before we start just throwing those ideas out there. And then making sure that the artists know how to work with the potential fabricators or designers for these more functional pieces.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question about, so we don't have a full-time staff person. And a lot of us are representative of Park and Recreation Commission, City Council. We have a member of the business community, a member of the artist community, but it's not like we're all professional artists. And so I think evaluating art is, you know, we have all different lenses, and we've talked about like, well, maybe we should hire a curator. Like if it's a big project with a, let's say $250,000 budget, maybe we need to get a curator in to help us. So how would you approach creating a document for a body of mostly not professional artists to help us, you know, make really smart decisions that enhance Brisbane's collection and choose pieces and attract pieces that our community will love?
That is a great question as well. And first of all and foremost, art should be for everyone. So just, you do not have to be an art professional to appreciate it, to love it, and to enjoy it, and or hate it. That is perfectly okay too. I always like to remind people it's okay. Are we still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All of a sudden Olivia was on my screen and I was like, oh, hi, Olivia. So I always like to remind people that might not be arts educated or an arts professional, you can still make great choices, because if you have a guiding vision for what you want your art program to be, that is going to help you make the decisions and take the subjectivity out of it. And so first and foremost, we want to, again, talk to you guys, all the stakeholders, and really help to establish what are the things you want out of this art program. I'm sure you want it to be accessible. I'm sure you want it to be diverse. I'm sure you want to make sure that it brings joy to your community and places that people want to be, as opposed to austere and like a gallery or a museum, right? I mean, cities want to attract people to be in cities, and that means that the artwork needs to speak to the community, but also be a place that you want to be. So what we would do is help put together guiding principles, first of all, which are just a simple, it's like a checklist of 10 to 15 things that are really simple for anyone to follow. Is it well lit at night so that it doesn't get lost in the nighttime? Is it in the right place? And how do we decide, like, is that the right place? We'll help you guys with location planning, but just general guiding principles for what artwork should be and how it should be displayed within a general setting will help to at least alleviate those first things. And then the second part is really making sure that we've got an actual mood board. So what we would do is, after we go through visioning sessions with you and the stakeholders in the community, we would start to pull out from there art typologies that are representative of what people are feeling attracted to and what speaks to the greater community. So we will actually have in your master plan images, precedent images of artwork that's been created in the world that says, hey, this is the direction we hear you guys say that you want to go in, so that it's much easier and more concrete to understand, because there's a visual that goes along with the verbiage that we would be providing as well. We want to make sure that all master plans are very digestible and very easy to implement. And I do appreciate your comment too about potentially hiring a consultant. We're actually doing this exact same thing right now for the city of Broomfield that you saw earlier. We're writing their master plan right now, and we are writing their implementation plan. And then on anything that they need additional help on, because they do not have a full-time staff either, they're gonna just say, oh, well, can you guys take that project for us? And so we're all aligned on exactly what needs to happen and when.
Great.
Okay.
So just so everyone's aware, the second group has started to join, the second firm, so.
Okay. So I
I don't know if we have any
Need to wrap
more.
it up.
Anyone, one last question?
One last question.
You asked what I was trying to ask.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, better than I was getting to.
She knows
Yeah,
exactly.
that was
That's what
perfect.
happens.
Okay, well, we
Yeah.
really appreciate your time. Your presentation was really informative and we're really happy that you were able to join us and thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
having us, and it was nice to meet you all.
Yes, thanks
Take
so much.
care.
Okay.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sorry, I didn't.
I think I'm gonna just keep asking that.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
Yeah,
Are we away from?
No, we're still
No, we're
live.
still live.
Still live.
We have our next person.
Okay,
And
okay.
then, yeah.
We have like another couple minutes, so we'll wait for his team to get on, and I'm glad that Josh didn't have a hard time. I saw his other teammate jump on Todd momentarily, so. Yeah, Josh and Todd have accepted it. Yeah, we had
Can we
a,
promote Josh to panelist?
I was gonna wait until we have another minute to
Oh.
chat, if you guys feel like it.
Box.
Same.
Oh,
I need
It's
to
like,
need a little sugar hit right now.
Earlier.
Do you know how much food and candy I have left over? Oh my gosh.
ooh,
I'm
let me come
giving,
over.
yeah,
Wait, I am. coming
it's
over.
all little packaged stuff. I'm
Oh,
giving it
yeah.
away on Halloween.
Oh,
Oh,
perfect.
and the seniors would love it.
Oh,
Senior center.
Yeah, that's a
okay,
good
cool.
idea.
Yeah.
Who's next?
All right, so we will be,
Designing local is
we'll have Josh, Todd, and, maybe Amanda.
Okay, we're finding the goal.
Here already.
Find out where they are.
If they asked Maureen, and they would probably. Just
What's that?
They have a farm, how much money is in the
It was in the RFP.
That was.
So they submitted a
Yeah.
proposal.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
The
I-
estimate,
yeah,
not
I know
the
what you
bid.
No, but our entire budget for our work, did they know?
If they asked me,
Yeah.
them bid.
They asked.
Got it.
All right, let's
I guess
get,
it's
oh,
just
Amanda just
misinterpreted.
fell off, but we'll get Josh promoted.
Okay.
There is Todd, we'll get Todd promoted. No.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Hi, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Next. And Amanda was here a moment ago, but
I think she's rejoining, yes.
Okay, great.
Well, I know she's rejoining, so.
And you should have capability to share screen if you so choose.
This is designing local.
This is designing local. Yes.
Well, we do have a very brief kind of introductory presentation. And I know we're limited with time, so I'm going to start it. I know oh, there's Amanda. So, obviously you've seen our proposal, so you kind of have a sense of who we are, and we just wanted to give kind of a brief introduction of both of our firms as well as our additional sub-consultant. So with Designing Local, we just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of the scope of the work that we do. So we are located in Columbus, Ohio, but we work all over the country. We have done 2 plans in the Bay Area in Emeryville and Los Altos, and recently did the Anaheim Public Art Master Plan in Southern California. So we've done a reasonable amount of work in California and in the Bay Area, but we run the gamut all over the country, and we really love that aspect of our business because it gives us the opportunity to learn from folks all over the country and really share ideas, pick up best practices, and then also share those best practices with folks throughout the country. And our map is getting a little full, so we're not sad about that, but and just very briefly, when it comes to designing local and the way we approach public art and arts and culture generally it's really about a desire to create fun, engaging, and authentic places. So we're all about bringing that creative energy and figuring out how to take the existing creative energy of your community and really get it out there into the built environment. We do have a growing team, which is great. So it's Amanda and I, we started the firm together in 2014. So we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. We also have a third business partner, Matt Ledger, who's a landscape architect. So he's really beneficial for us in a lot of aspects of our planning work. And then we have a few more team members that have joined us recently and work very closely with us. So one is Jasmine Metcalf. She's an urban planner. We have another urban planner, Meredith Reed, and then not on this list because she literally just started today, is Anna Talrico. And she is coming to us from the Cleveland Museum of Art. And so she's coming on as a public art coordinator and really helping us with the curatorial aspects of our work. And then I'll let Todd introduce himself in a moment, but we have two sub-consultants, one whom we added after we submitted the proposal because we were really thinking about it. And for us, it would be really good to have somebody on the ground in the community or near the community. And both Todd and Amanda and I have met a woman named Stephanie Troyan, and she's a landscape designer, and she's worked for Marin County, and now she works in San Francisco. So she's been really wanting to work on this, and we've been really looking for opportunities to work with her. So we're really excited that she agreed to join our team. And we really look at her as serving an on-the-ground kind of knowledge base, as well as having boots on the ground there whenever there's an event or something going on. So we're really excited about her. And I'll let Amanda chime in before I give it to Todd in case you wanted to add anything else.
No, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. Josh covered everything.
All right. And then Todd, I'll let you introduce yourself and your work.
I'd like to say a word about Stephanie, though.
Oh, yes.
One thing that was really impressive about her is she started a public art initiative in Marin County parks, even when the county didn't have an official public art program. She just figured out how to do it. She doesn't work for the county anymore, but that's
That's great.
So I'm based outside Philadelphia. I'm an urban planner, urban designer by trade. Got into this. And now I'm a sole practitioner focusing entirely on public art planning, project development, program development, and as does Designing Local. I work across the country, although a lot of my work is focused now in Philadelphia. I too have done many plans for municipalities. I've also worked extensively with developers and as well as arts nonprofits, helping them develop public art strategies. I'd like to say it's that not just the geographic experience, but the kind of client mix that helps me see projects from beginning to end, how the implications of a policy can impact the work that's commissioned later on, and how the kind of ecosystem of government, private sector, and nonprofit sector all kind of collaborate.
Wait,
Stop, Todd.
time, stop.
Can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
I'm not talking anymore.
Can you guys hear us?
Very quiet.
Pretty quiet.
There you go.
Okay. How's that?
Try
Try
again.
now.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Much better.
Okay, great. Well, I think that's a good intro to us. You know, we're excited at the opportunity. We've been looking for opportunities to work with Todd for a while now. So we're really excited to be applying for this project together, and we'll open it for questions.
Okay. Go ahead.
I can start. So just so you have an understanding of this body, we don't have a full-time staff person that, works on public art. And then the committee is comprised of members of the Park and Rec Commission, members of the city council. We have a member of the business community, a member of the community at large, a member of the, artist community. Although many of us are, in the art world in some way, we're not necessarily professional art critics. And so, how would we've talked about possibly hiring a curator at times, like let's say we want to do an area that we perceive might have a $300,000 budget, or a curator could help us determine the type of what budget makes sense for this area, because that might be out of our scope of knowledge currently. How would you create a document to help guide a body like this and to help know when we need to pull in like outside resources and how we would even interact with like a curator, so to speak.
I think there are a number of ways to answer that. I think that one of the great things about our team is that all three of us have served in the curatorial role before. We're planners, yes, but we've also worked on a number of curatorial projects. And as Josh said at the very beginning, we just hired the director of exhibits from the Cleveland Museum of Art, who has worked there doing curation. She also worked for Front Triennial, which is a huge temporary public art festival in Cleveland that happens every 3 years. And Todd, you should talk about what you're doing right now with a lot of your work. I mean, 2 projects in particular come to mind.
Is this a game?
Yes, yes.
Well, so first of all, I think what Amanda wanted me to say is that among the work I do right now, I work at Mural Arts Philadelphia as an internal consultant, and I work with Philadelphia 250, which is planning for the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence celebration, where I'm in charge of public art and creative activations. So that's part of that experience of helping organizations understand how to put together the resources they need. I think actually another appropriate example that's directly answerable, that helps directly answer your question is, I do advise the city of Alexandria, Virginia, each year in developing a public art annual work plan. And part of that process is to answer a question you just asked, which is, do we have the internal resources to do this curatorially, or do we need, and also in terms of project management capacity, or do we have to reach out and find somebody to help us? And so the way we do that is we assess each project, and we develop like a mini plan for the project, which explains sort of what the goals of the projects are, and then what the roles of each entity is. Here's the role, for example, of the Arts Advisory Committee. Here's the role of the staff. Here's the role that you would want a curator or a consultant to play, or a project manager to play. So you sort of kind of break down the whole project development process and almost develop mini scopes for each entity that's involved. So it's really a kind of process of assessing each project, breaking down and trying to figure out where you hit your capacity limits, either qualitatively because it requires specialized expertise, or quantitatively because you just don't have one who has the hours to do the work.
I'll also add, so we can all talk, that I think you have to take a step back to. I mean, what Todd is talking about is really executing the like the nuts and bolts of the program. But you know, this is really about creating a vision for what that program can be, and what types of things do you want to do? What types of artwork do people want to see in the community overall? Like, what is the interaction going to be with the artwork? So, I mean, I think that's what's great about our team, is that we are taking it from this high level vision of engaging with and understanding what the community wants to see, and then, which, you know, Todd and our team have both done, and then also getting down to that nuts and bolts once we really understand what that vision is going to be, and figuring out how can you execute these projects individually. But I think the vision has to come first, because that's really helping you understand what you even need to be doing in the first place.
I have a question. Thank you. In creating that vision, can you tell me a little bit about any of the projects or events that you held that involved community and outside, any kind of interested party or stakeholder that helped create or gave you insight into what the vision would be?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a lot to talk about, but I'll give you an example, because I am flying out to Boston on Thursday to do an event that we're calling Art, Speak, and Sip. So we are having one kind of nationally well-known artist, along with 6 local and regional artists, coming to talk to the public about what arts and culture, or what public art should look like in the city of Brockton, where we're working, which is about 30 minutes south of Boston. And with that, we also have an Indigenous artist that is creating a series of small temporary artworks that are going to be placed around the downtown area. So we're really trying to drive a lot of energy around what public art could look like in Brockton. And then also taking, all the data that we're getting from that and filtering it into ultimately the outcome of the planning process. So I think, and Todd has some really great examples of this as well. So I think that, everything we do is about creating not just a fun and engaging plan, like at the end of the day, but also a fun and engaging process, because this is not land use planning. Like, this should be fun. This should draw people in. This should create conversations. Todd, you've done so many like cool engagement things. So,
well, the first thing I'll say is, as amazing as it might sound, the vision for each city really truly is different. You might think, like, what kind of range of options are there for public art? But every community has its own kind of creative juice, its own kind of history, and it really does add up to a different sort of vision for what. And the vision is really not for public art per se, but it's about, how's public art part of your city? How does public art make your city a place that people feel like they belong to, that they're excited about, that they want to stay in, they want to raise their family in, they want to visit. So that, there's all kinds of events and activities, but one that I did that I thought was a lot of fun was working in your neck of the woods in Cuyahoga Falls. We had a workshop called Monumental Make and Take, and we brought a whole bunch of art supplies from Michael's and dumped them on the table. And we asked people to make monuments for their city. And what that really did was gave us insight to how people wanted art to represent their city. It gave us insight into the stories they wanted to tell. Instead of simply saying to someone, what stories do you want to tell? We actually gave them a chance to tell the story with modeling clay. And it led to a lot of discussions that really helped us understand what people wanted to see in terms of public art in their community. It actually led to a plan which immediately led to an NEA grant, which led to the commissioning of 2 projects that were sort of inspired by the conversations we had. So it's really about finding ways where people get into kind of a comfortable zone where they can really talk to you about their hopes for their city, and how and what kind of ideas they hope that art can help express.
I have one more question. Just off of what you just said. When you said NEA grant, was there someone on your staff who wrote the grant, or was that someone from the town that wrote the grant?
Well, the town took the lead in writing the grant, but I supported that. So their community development department had a grant writer. So they had a bit of capacity there.
Yeah.
But I sort of played the role in really helping them understand what the NEA was looking for. And, I think most of the role they did was sort of think about, what are the resources the city has? How can we get a letter from the congressman and things like that?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You want to ask number 4? Is that your cookie cutter?
I could read one off of our list. Okay, it says, if your firm is not local to the area, what methods will be used to gain a clear understanding of community values and character?
One of the ways that we do this, and we do this before we come for the first time, is that we really spend a lot of time getting to know your plans, different things that the city has done within the last 5 years. And if there are really important things from beyond 5 years ago, we do pay special attention to that as well. But we also spend a considerable amount of time getting to know stakeholders. So we ask you guys to make a list of folks that you think are important to talk to as we kind of start out our discovery process. And we usually try to talk to as many of those folks as possible before coming. And one of the things we started doing during COVID, which really provided us a lot of context for our first visit, was having somebody from the Parks Department or from planning, whatever department was managing us, really kind of walk us around and kind of give us the lay of the land, like through Google Maps. And so that when we come, our time together is super meaningful and that we already have a lot of awareness for what's going on. So you're like, oh, this specific development, we're like, oh yeah, we know a lot about that. You've already talked a lot about that. And then we already have those pre-prepared questions that are really, helpful for us to be able to ask on the fly. Before COVID, we were coming out to kick off a project. And that's one of the things that we've kind of kept as part of our process, is really just kind of doing a lot of that upfront work so that our time together is very meaningful. That helps us kind of get to know you, get to know the projects that are going on, get to know those leaders. And if there are follow-up questions or conversations that we need to have with any of those stakeholders, we can go ahead and schedule those in person. So that's something that we do that we really enjoy. Todd, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think to be successful in this work, and the reason I do it is because I love places and I love people. I mean, there's no greater job. I mean, I get to go places and meet interesting people and talk to them. And I think I always have to keep that on when I'm in a place. I mean, there's no better way to get to know a place and its values and its goals just than talking to people, being on the ground and talking. When I can in a city, I always ride around on a bike. I drop in places and I talk to people at random, like a bakery or a coffee shop. I talk to them about why I'm there and what I'm doing, get their point of view. I worked on a trail project in Austin for a 10-mile trail in the middle of the city. And every time I went to Austin, I dedicated one whole day just to walking around that trail and talking to people about it. So I think as an outsider, I'm acutely aware that I don't know everything about a place, but that's what excites me and that's what interests me in doing this work. And the way I approach that is by being in the place, walking, biking, talking to people. So I feel like I've really absorbed it in myself when I'm there working.
Anyone else have any of the other questions they want to ask? No, I'm fine.
We have a lot of hills for bikes. So.
We have a lot of people who
That's
ride
why we're
on
into the
e-bikes.
e-bikes.
Yeah, e-bikes are great.
We're in Austin, they've got e-bikes. That helped because it's downtown, yeah, kind of hilly.
Yeah.
Kind of
It's great.
Do you have any questions for us?
What? Can I ask a question, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
So no, I was trying to learn what I could about the city. And, I guess, I'm wondering, this isn't a question, but it's sort of every time I look up Brisbane public art, I get Australia. And I guess you guys get that a lot. But I am curious, what are you most proud of that you've accomplished with public art in the city?
We're a very young public art committee, very, very young. And so the biggest accomplishment is the fact that we're actually talking with you,
Yeah,
that we're moving forward with a master plan.
right.
Okay, and I know you've worked really hard to get here because I was reading your meeting minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. And that was like really great due diligence.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think one of the positives, I mean, if somebody else has a question, but one of the positives of coming in where we are at this point, where you really, are a very young program and you're looking to build, I think that really excites us. We worked in Emeryville, which has had a program now that was 10 years ago. So probably 35 years. And so there's like a lot of lessons learned, but that also means if you haven't done stuff, gives us the opportunity to create a really strong program right from the beginning, have lots of vision. A lot of communities that we work in that are in a similar boat as you or a little bit more, advanced, they've done some projects, they immediately decide they want to do a plan because they just start throwing stuff out there without a vision and without really understanding what they want to do. So I don't think that it's a bad thing. It's a good opportunity.
Yeah, Tom.
When I go to IKEA and head over to Emeryville, what should I look at that you guys are most proud of?
They have done a lot over there. I think one of the coolest things they've done is I don't know what the trail is called specifically, but they do a lot of partnerships with developers. And so there's a trail that kind of runs through, it's like the flats. I can look this up. It's been so long, but there are these like really awesome murals that they've put on either side of this entire trail. And they're super proud of that. And I think the staff person, Amber Evans, is still over there. And she seems to be doing really well. They just got cultural district money from the state of California, and they're doing a plan, but the performing arts facility that they've wanted to have, I think, is finally maybe coming to fruition. So, I think that for them, it was really kind of getting them set up with a vision, tiny little city, thinking through what's next for them. And they've really done a lot and have been able to show a lot of the projects that we recommended to developers, who then were able to say like, okay, I get it. And I'm going to help fund that specific idea.
And I think they're a good example of a program that even has really, really high quality small scale stuff.
Yeah.
So, they've had some really like award-winning utility box programs over the years that go well
Transit
beyond
shelters,
just, that kind of thing, which is really great. And, they're so dense and built out. There's not a lot, there's not a lot of new development happening, but they want to make sure that was part of the planning process, was making sure that all their new development appropriately use public art instead of having like opportunities on the inside, which are easy to get lost over the years and things like that. So
Josh, if you remember, Emeryville was where so this was like pre-phones that had like really great cameras. I like rented a car with a sunroof and had like a GoPro and like drove around, because our vision was like, okay, there's not a lot of public space. So how can we really contribute a meaningful public art program without much public space or many parks? And so we had people kind of stop the video and provide comments at different points in the video to say, I'd like to see this here. We did it on 3 corridors, and I think 4 like bicycle corridors. 2 were trails, and then 2 were bike lanes specifically, because it's so small. But it was kind of an interesting thing. And this was a very long time ago. We would use very different technology if we were doing that today. But I still think it kind of rings true of like, hey, we want to experience the city as residents are, and then help them think through the corridors and the routes that they're going on every single day, and say like, this is a great place. I go past it every day. I want something right here to tell me to turn off, or I'm going home, or I'm going to work and I want to pull off the trail here. So that was fun.
I can't
Okay,
wait to
sounds
somebody
great.
ride a bike. I'm going to take a GoPro.
Yes. A helmet. Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I say one more thing? I
Yes.
neglected to mention in my intro, I'm a proud grad of UC Berkeley Planning School.
Hey.
And I have worked in San Jose and Santa Rosa, and we're just finishing a project in Sonoma. So I'm by no means a stranger to both the Bay Area and to public art in Northern California.
Great.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
so much.
thank you all so much.
See ya.
All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
More water.
Pretty late out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice of them.
8:15.
Would you mind getting them? Thank you.
We're deliberating
There.
today.
For us, yeah.
Right.
If we
So it's
feel like we.
Almost Philadelphia.
Yeah.
3 hours, yeah. Cocktail hour right there.
It's past cocktail hours, time for pajamas.
It's Monday.
Yeah, we need more water.
I'm sorry, I crushed it earlier.
I'll get it.
Drank like 3 glasses.
I'll get it.
Oh, I also filled this up halfway, so I can get out.
It's more.
I'm not more, right?
Or-
Yes. It's more. It's up. Give me a minute.
It's gonna be.
I think so, but yeah, I was just quickly spitting it out.
I know, yeah, I just. I could not,
You're right.
just to make.
Yeah.
We wouldn't get any.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
You're gonna get it anyway.
Huh?
You're gonna get it anyway.
Why get a double?
Because she realized the intent and the delivery was different.
Yes. Yeah.
What is it? I'm just messing with both of you because I can.
I know you can.
Just wanna know.
I almost used those, clouds. I was trying to figure out any way to use those clouds.
Was it still there?
Yeah, there's.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought, yeah, so just.
because Jojo was like, we can project on these. You wanna use them? We just have to figure out how to stand them up because we hung them.
Oh, because you would not have hung them this way.
I was
That
gonna
would
put
have
them
been cool to have the cloud.
somewhere and then project like the Adams Family or something on there.
Huh.
I could have put them outside.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'd been thrilled to set that up too.
yeah, there's just so much happening at once.
Eating these, are those yours?
They're mine, huh? You want something? I
No,
just
I'm gonna
wanted
get
one.
another. I
So
just
did
ate
you
them.
feel it was more successful to have the tables out there? Instead of
You know, my
Standing.
capacity is a lot smaller
Oh.
with tables, but I think that it provides like a better experience. And I think everyone could still see really well.
Oh, good.
It was
And I think
great.
it was well.
It was
Nice.
It was great. I got a really fabulous photo of Luffy.
Oh,
Oh, my
she
God.
didn't-
Beautiful
she's
scenery.
amazing.
She's just
just-
grown so much. I haven't seen her.
Very
She's still working on
presence.
this. I don't know if
Stage
it's her first paid gig, but I think maybe one of her first. So she's
This
dialing
one?
it. It's interesting to see the evolution from like, you know, being an SFR that and now as DPW.
Which was a good.
DPW, but just seeing that's almost new, you know, that's
Right.
Parkside, right?
No,
And
no,
now,
Batco is the most recent.
okay, Backco, and then.
Came out of it.
Yeah. And then, but to see her transition from like working with people all her age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where I've got.
Yeah,
it.
it's right up.
I'll bet you want to check.
Oh, I
And
know
I'm
that.
gonna open up the agenda and click and it's went right to me.
That I know.
I don't know what the blip was.
Yeah.
New York.
We need
Not
one.
really
And
sure.
as I said,
Oh, yeah, I'll get it on Facebook to say, hey, I got your DM.
because like with G, it's like. it's a
Oh, really?
Platform. Yeah. Never. I remember her.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she grew up.
Yeah, her nails were like that long.
Yeah, look at her now.
Yeah, she and Yuri.
She's got it
moved
down.
down.
Glad that she's
Oh,
gonna
wow.
be in New York so that.
A year and a half ago, 2 years.
She's gonna get the exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's, you know. And she should talk to Rodney before she. leaves. I
Amazing.
think I'll-
Zoe's in Pacifica.
It's beautiful.
And
do we get another glass?
Sure.
Yes, maybe.
Angel's getting.
Angel's getting one, Angel your number. So who's next?
Our next is the last one, which is.
Gail Goldman.
Is.
Gail or Barbara is not gonna be.
Barbara is no longer part of their.
She retired.
Danielle.
Can be.
Danielle.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, beautiful. I remember her.
I took a bunch of pictures, but this one was nice.
Primary on a lot of these other plans.
It's like drum and she sang, that was the first time I heard it. She was 10 years old. And it was, oh.
Gail. There she is.
Was that the extra glass?
I just gave her one.
I think you need to share that. There's the extra glass.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just gave one to Danielle.
I don't mind.
I didn't realize, I know who would ask for it.
Oh, you can have it. I just thought about that.
I gave it to the wrong person.
That's okay.
I'm really. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's yours.
Where are you? What was
Yeah, we do need a little
I was
pizza or
just
something.
teasing, Angel.
Your legs are longer than mine.
All right, 6:05. It is.
This
Oh,
group
budget.
has 30 years' experience in the Bay
It is
Area.
sponsored.
Oh, and they're very thorough. And
Yeah, and this was the one that did that city.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, this is like, this is on, but this is where our plan is
And
gonna.
here's my.
Like,
But that might be like.
That's what they're all like. this-
Well, but also.
Since we have 10 minutes, do you guys want to talk about the first two groups
Do
right now?
we keep that open or do we close or what?
Because what if they come on?
Yeah.
Well, we could stop talking about it as soon as we see them come on.
So they would
It's up to
address
you.
that.
Up
Was
to
this
see
live on
during it.
YouTube? No.
Yes, well, not.
I don't wanna change, I don't wanna take. I have more upstairs. Is that the last one?
Yeah, I have more upstairs.
You want more?
And I have a whole.
I have a bars or something more.
I don't, yeah, a bottle of wine.
Bottle
My favorite.
Delivered, is that illegal?
I have like a whole case of wine extra for my event. Like last time I sold a ton of wine.
Yeah.
So this time, like every time you do something based on last year, you never.
We use it with the chamber.
Sure.
Now I have 15 bottles.
Oh.
So I'm gonna maybe sell bottles for like $7
Just bring them to the next.
or something.
I was gonna say.
Bring him to the next meeting.
$20 bottles of wine and try to pawn them off for a cheaper price. I don't know.
We do have the State of the City on
Somewhere.
November 15th.
I'm gonna have some for that, but it's
No, it's still too much.
a little too much for that.
Just saying, I'm
We are.
inviting, if people don't know.
Yeah, Shane Lucid.
I went to the opening of the South City Library.
Yes, on
and-
Saturday.
No,
yeah.
on Thursday night.
Oh,
Council of Cities had the dinner there,
Oh,
and when the earthquake hit, and I'm just sitting there going, I'm really glad I'm in a new building.
Yeah.
I was in Mission
Wow.
Blue and that thing.
how big was it?
Yeah, I really.
Oh, yeah.
I was sitting on the floor in the living room, Stu was cooking dinner,
2 miles.
and I'm like watching.
A lot of stuff that fell over. There was a lot of.
I've never seen
The
such
Bellava.
shaking.
Well, that were like not
And our
our
dog-
dog that were not where they're supposed to be.
We're pretty
doing
sure
over there?
that
Get over there.
we got her when she was 14 months old. We're pretty sure that our dog lived through an earthquake in which things fell down on top.
Oh,
Or fell down on her crate, and she
freaked
out. As soon as the dogs in the town started barking, she was just like, oh my God, I'm out of here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she completely freaked out. And I'm like, oh, that answers that question.
my cat.
Previous life.
My mom was like, it sounded like a truck went by. I didn't feel a thing. I was like, oh, wow, okay. Terry was like, it sounded like a truck hit my house.
I could tell that it was actually fairly
Oh.
shallow though, because it
Yeah, it was.
have that,
Mhm.
you know, that low, very low, almost sub-auditory rumble to it. where it's like this one-
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
Mile down the way.
I know.
It's on the soccer
It was
field.
me, Sharon and Jojo.
Really?
Yeah, we were all in different places and we all ran into the middle. Sharon's like, oh,
Get out of here.
I've never been in
It's running,
an open space with an earthquake. What was it like? Yeah.
It was auditory. It was.
Yeah, it was all.
Yeah.
I was. Yeah,
It felt like we're in the car exiting Brisbane and the car went. What did you do? Like,
Yeah.
And then we found out.
My mom was driving on the freeway, right, kind of there, getting off towards Brisbane in the 89.
Yeah.
She thought she was hit.
Yeah.
The same thing, the car went like that. So she pulled over.
No, you don't. I feel like just a bumpy road.
else who was driving during the Loma Prieta quake and she thought the tires had come off the car.
She pulled over and then someone else pulled over and they were like, are you
I didn't-
okay?
I
And my
thought it
mom
was
was
just a
like,
bumpy
yeah.
road. But I heard,
She was
but
like,
I
it's an
heard,
earthquake.
but I heard a guy screaming on the radio, oh my God, your earthquake. And then
Back. Sure.
Oh,
the 89 one.
KQED went out. Yep.
Yeah, the 89 one.
No, not this
No,
one.
Loma
Oh,
Prieta.
Loma Prieta.
Yeah, because I was living down.
Those of us who remember that one.
It was.
I ended up with a black eye.
And I watched.
Oh, you didn't feel it?
No, Megan and,
We did not feel it.
And they were, Megan was like horrified.
I was in seventh and Brian.
Back and kind of doing singing and dancing. And so I
Didn't feel it.
You just thought it was singing and dancing.
Yeah,
I have no
I was
clue.
stopping in my car and a jogger went
Yeah,
by.
we have a
this
couple
was
of
a
signs.
bad-
Or send it
Jogger
down,
went by,
where she highlighted
And I,
the
and
different
I yelled at him,
lines.
I go, "Where's the house gonna
If
be earthquake?" And he went, oh.
behind you. If it's here, I'm.
They might have a couple more people outside.
Yeah, I mean, I text.
So Gail is the primary, but she's the one.
Oh, my French relative.
With Barbara is.
Gail's here.
Gail.
Okay.
Gail. Gail.
Okay, big oversized cup. Perfect.
You can use it for soup and it has a lid with it.
Well, if they're here, can we just start early? Yeah, so we can just.
Yeah, let's start.
move it or-
London.
As you were coming.
As, yeah. Wild.
Hello and welcome.
Hello, good evening.
Good
evening.
Do we have anybody else joining from your team or you guys good?
We have one more person,
Okay.
Okay.
Quinn Mai, she'll be joining.
Great. Okay.
Here we are. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Gail.
Hi.
Alright.
There we go. How is everyone?
Great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and doing this. Well, For zooming in, and connecting to do this.
Well, yeah, you obviously are problem solvers. You rose to the occasion. So we'll just wait for Quinn, who I know will is ready to roll.
A bit chilly.
Yeah, we all said that.
Just,
Yeah, freezing.
Zip it up.
My girls with a couple of
Hang on,
people, they
this
brought
is-
something totally different in 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to, wait, give me a minute. Yeah.
Like all of a sudden.
Good to me. I got overheated.
So your trip to Italy was just for fun?
Oh, yeah, it was. It was really great.
Wonderful.
Quick question. Should I go ahead and do I have the ability to share my screen? Could I go ahead and do that?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Okey doke. Uh-oh, which one are you seeing? You're seeing the wrong one. Okay. You get to see my daughter.
nose.
Oh.
Pretty.
That works.
All right. So I have 2 screens and this all worked before, of course. So let me see what I can do instead.
I wonder if she's having, because we were sent a different link.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure she saw that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just redo this.
Think so. Did you send her a different link?
It should have still been connected, but
Nicole tested it and she said if you typed it in, it was fine, but if you clicked on the embedded link, then that was the problem.
but then I just did the agenda embedded in there and it clicked right through on my phone and on my
Okay,
computer.
so sometimes when you send me something with a link,
Mhm.
the first email I can click on it.
Mhm.
But if you send a reminder with the same link, it never works for me.
Interesting. So it's some sort of a little bit of a tech.
Some kind of tech weirdness. I have no idea.
Mm.
So I've got to go back to the very first
Funny
email
that you
you sent.
figured that out, you know?
Well, I kept going,
It worked.
Sometimes, yeah, so you know what? That's happened to me before too, and I always have to type in the number.
right,
Yeah.
so I go
Manually.
back to the original link that's sent and it works. But
Mhm.
then you're sending a couple of reminders and it never works.
Yeah.
Weird.
Well, the PA-Zoom should work just fine. Oh,
She's here.
there she is. Quinn is here.
When is here?
Sorry, we're just talking about it and she's like, we're in our meeting. I think she's still trying to share her screen anyways. You're good?
There's.
Okay, now let me. Hello. Hi, Quinn. Hello. Okay, we're gonna share the screen and here we go.
Hey.
Yay.
Hey, good job.
We got it.
Great.
Let us know when you're
We're ready.
We're ready.
We're ready.
ready. We're ready. Okay. And you want us to start with introductions of us, or do you want to introduce yourselves?
You can start.
Okay, well, I'm Gail Goldman and I'm the project lead. And first of all, we are very excited that you have invited us to join you for your happy hour today. By way of introduction, I just wanted to give you a very quick overview of my own background, and then I'll turn it over to my esteemed colleagues to do the same. I started my career at the National Endowment for the Arts in Washington, D.C. in the design program. From there, I moved to Denver, where I was the director of the Art and Public Places program for the state of Colorado. And then I continued heading southwest and ended up in San Diego, where I was the founding director of the City of San Diego's public art program. I started consulting in 2000, and the primary focus of my practice is public art master plans. And I have conducted 30 so far, and they have the master plans have been conducted throughout the United States and in Canada with a range of communities, cities, counties, transportation agencies, airports. So I have a pretty broad reach. I also, as part of my consulting, work with new private development and have the great pleasure of being able to help developers spend their money on public art, which is always a treat. Excuse me, I've been partnering with Art Builds Community for a number of years, and our projects have included the city of Palo Alto and Chattanooga, Tennessee, and most recently I've been working with them on master plans for Bay Area cities of South San Francisco and Newark. We have, although we've worked with a lot of communities, both in the Bay Area and around the country, one of the things that really excites us the most is discovering the distinct character and understanding the specific needs of a community. We're known for our inclusivity, for pushing the envelope, for setting new precedents, and for inventing new ways of doing business that are tailored to the community in which we are working. We very much want to help Brisbane to develop a roadmap for building a really diverse collection of public art and public art experiences. We'll do that by listening really closely and working hard to make recommendations that celebrate your unique identity, and recommendations that we will vet through the city for assurance that they will in fact be implementable. That's really fundamental to the work that we do. I would now like to turn this over to Amanda and Quinn to introduce themselves in their respective roles on the project.
Great, thanks, Gail. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Rawson. I am actually one of the partners in Art Builds Community, which is a San Jose-based, multi-generational, woman of color-owned public art consulting firm. I am an art historian, that is my background, and my role really concentrates on the research of a city and the community. For this project, I would primarily be responsible for communications, identifying and assessing potential locations and opportunities for workshops and some type of pop-up events. And then I would also assist with the development of recurring themes, organizational structure, and potential funding strategies. So for me, research is a big part of what I do. I'm really fascinated with learning about a place, which includes its past, its present, and its future. And I also believe that people feel a part of their community when they can see and experience life through artistic ways. So actually, because we live so close, I was driving through Brisbane on Friday, and so I did a little bit of just Googling and learned a little about the history of Brisbane. And for me, it was interesting to hear and read that the first people we know were Ohlone, but Costanoan was the name that was previously used, which for me was interesting because I know of places called Costanoa by the water on the coast. And then also a little bit about the landfill history in the Baylands and its potential future, which for me is really fascinating. And then with the work that we did for South San Francisco, I learned a lot about the San Bruno Mountain and its the attraction it has with the Mission Blue butterfly, which I thought was really great to see on the RFP when it was sent out, and we were able to see it see the title page. So as an art historian, as a historian in general, and as somebody who is a native to the Bay Area, all of that has been already interesting for me. As you know from our proposal, Art Builds Community has worked locally, and from what Gail has said, with work we've done we've collaborated with her. We've worked in cities such as South San Francisco. We've worked in Palo Alto, both for the city and as well as a neighborhood public art plan. And then Belmont. Belmont was a really fun project that we worked on as well right at the beginning of the pandemic. We've also worked nationally in cities such as Lake Oswego, Oregon, Las Vegas, Nevada, and the town of Catonsville, Maryland. And we've had really great success with working with Gail at Newark, so much so that they've brought Art Builds Community as the project managers to start their first public art program. So that's me. Really quickly though, because Barbara's not here, I'm going to just speak briefly that Art Builds Community was founded in 2019 by Barbara Goldstein. And she's really been a leader in the public art consulting community for over 30 years. She's the author of Public Art by the Book, which is a nationally used book by the public art community. And she also received the Public Art Leadership Award from Americans for the Arts in 2017. Barbara continues to be an advisor on all of our projects, though now Quinn and I are currently the new owners of the business. So I'm going to let my colleague and partner Quinn speak next.
Thank you, Gail and Amanda, and hello, City of Brisbane. My name is Quinn Mywin, and I go by she, her pronouns. I am a partner with Art Builds Community, and my role is leading community engagement that's socially engaged. I help lead design of plans as well as marketing of campaigns. And I'm also a respected arts leader within my community, as well as a practicing artist. So I'm not just an arts consultant. I'm a practicing artist within the arts community. I'm a multidisciplinary social practice artist, community organizer, and poet with over 10 years of experience working within the arts and culture and socially engaged campaigns and art projects for and with different entities, from small grassroots social justice organizations, even on the county level with the LGBTQ Cultural Affairs Office within Santa Clara County, and even on projects where there is a national impact with FEIU, Employees International Union, as well as the Equitable and Just National Climate Platform. Because of my work within not only the Bay Area, but within California, I've been recognized for my cultural movement work in the Bay Area by KQ The Arts, as well as representing San Jose and California as one of 26 communities across the nation through 880 Emerging City Champions, where leaders within these 26 communities come together, share ideas on how we can advocate around civic engagement and placemaking for our respective communities. I'm really excited to work on this project, or the possibility of working on this project with Brisbane. I believe that art can be more than just murals and sculptures. They can be fun, multifaceted, and reflective of the stories of their communities, especially the communities that are hard to reach. We believe that art and artists have the power and responsibility to help tell these stories, as well as honor the past and build excitement for the future and the different possibilities to come, and really help create places where people, especially those who often have their voices unheard or not at the table, to be heard, and so that when they see when we engage with them and they see the art that's created in their homes, communities, they can be proud to call these places home or even visit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can see on the slide that we've done an outline of our approach just as a frame of reference for all of you. So now we certainly welcome your questions.
Me turn?
Yeah.
Okay. So
We got this down.
yeah. So for some background information, we don't have a full-time staff person that's working with the Public Art Committee. And the Public Art Committee itself is comprised of 2 members of the Park and Recreation Commission, 2 members of the City Council, a member of the artist community, a member of the business community, and a member of the Brisbane community at large. Many of us are practicing artists or been in the arts for many years, but I wouldn't say that we are specifically, trained art critics. And so I think we have talked about looking at spaces and, struggling to come up with what's the right budget for this space or a vision for the space. And then, talking about maybe we need to hire a curator to help us, manage maybe a project that's a larger scale with a larger budget. And so I'm wondering how you would create a plan that would specifically have a section that would speak to helping us navigate curation and hiring a curator and what to do with larger scale projects.
I'll start and then turn it over to Quinn and Amanda if you have anything you want to add. It is first we need to know more specifically what you do have as well as what limitations you have. It's a significant focus of the plan is making sure that you can do what we're recommending and what you've supported as recommendations. We will include not only, mapping of potential sites, but we can also identify potential budgets to go with those. And we would also detail administrative guidelines, organizational structure, options for either bringing in a consultant the way that Amanda mentioned the City of Newark is now doing with Art Builds Community. From our point of view, the administration is almost supersedes a curator per se. So when you have an agreed upon selection process, that is what will drive the type of professional that you choose to retain. So it is very much, it's part of how you implement the plan. So it will be something that evolves based on what you want and need and what we understand and know from our experience will be, important. Do you want to add to that, Amanda or Quinn?
I think I agree with everything you said, Gail. And I would just reinforce that we have worked with cities that are in have similar situations. And so bringing that experience will help us when we do develop the recommendations and the samples that we will bring forward that make sense to the way the city of Brisbane wants to move forward with their program, right? Whether that's around administrative roles and responsibilities and what does that look like and when should those come on board, right? So really creating an implementation plan for that. So along with what Gail said, we would also provide an implementation plan that is spread out in a certain number of years, whether it's short-term, mid-term, long-term, and whatever we decide that means for you, that makes sense. So that would be the only thing I think I would add to that question.
Quinn, anything you want to add? No? I would, just as a postscript, we have reviewed the ordinance and are aware that of the 65, 15, 20% division of the use of the Public Art Fund. So we would take a really close look to make sure that your administrative needs can in fact be supported within that 20% and maybe elaborate on that and make sure that it's as comprehensive as possible.
You want to answer your question? I have a kind of twofold question. Can you give us an example of something that you've done, an event or a gathering or whatever that encouraged the community to be involved in helping to create the visioning?
That is what we do, and that is the core heart and soul of our process. Quinn and Amanda, do you want to take that?
I can take on that question. So with a lot of our projects that we have worked with Gail, as well as the projects through Art Builds Community, we really focus on socially art engaged and arts-based community engagement, meeting people where they're at, whether it's at a community center, a library, at a bus stop, at a park, or existing local events. We meet where they gather to help create accessibility within the feedback collection, so that it's not just requiring them to just come to a town hall meeting, which a lot of times is not accessible at all, whether it's because of language or transportation. We use art, especially our activities, as a way to make the experience fun. So there have been experiences where, like, for example, the city of South San Francisco, we did a community weaving project where each participant was invited to add on to a community mural, a community tapestry mural. And so each string represented a type of public art category or a type of public art that they were interested in the city investing. And together that became a visual piece that showcased what they really valued was whether it came public art or themes, as well as a temporary public art piece. So showing them what is possible when it comes to temporary public art. There have been other projects that we have done that also align with the charm of the city. So for example, the city of Newark, very small town, city, known for its charm, but often gets overlooked. We worked with a local artist to facilitate, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Shrinky Dinks, but really playing with that nostalgia of that is can be enjoyed by young children as well as adults, and inviting them to design their own charm that represents the charm of the city, as well as the type of public art that they were interested in. So in the end, they were creating these charms that also gave us feedback on what they cared about. And it engaged a lot of people. And in that moment, we invite them to take surveys that are available online, as well as in different languages, depending on the demographic of the city. And we have intentional conversations with these people. A lot of times they come in, they say, "Oh, I'm not artistic," or "I have no opinion on the art," but they love coming over to tell stories of just their day. And that's what the most information we actually get from them, that is, we find very valuable, is, you know, what they go, how they go about their day, or their favorite memory at this place. And they don't realize it, but through these engaged art activities at these pop-ups, they provide a lot of input.
And a part of, I'm sorry, Amanda, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead. I was going to ask another question.
I was just going to add that we also ask people to map locations in their neighborhoods or throughout the city that where they would like to see either, you know, tangible public art or some sort of public art event, so that's how we capture all this information. And we also, you know, keep tabs and record what we hear from everyone.
I guess my follow-up question about that is that, were you able in these, I think about, you know, the sense of a recommendation and then understanding what consensus is and what is the event. So I wonder what your process is with that, what your experience with that, how you've set that up.
It's kind of remarkable, actually, in terms of how it comes together, because we do a lot of what we call research, which includes, you know, interviewing the city staff and key stakeholders. We tour the city with all of you to make sure that we have a good understanding of the neighborhoods. We also, you know, we have focus groups, so there may be you know, we like to meet with artists or business leaders and, you know, other special interest groups, BIPOC, so that we're as inclusive as we possibly can be. And we're constantly, you know, taking notes and pulling it all together. And what happens, and I think this is true in any situation, to be honest, is that these themes start to emerge. And when we meet with people, we walk in assuming we know nothing. And in so many ways, I suppose we don't, even if we've heard it before. But the people who know most about their community is the people who live and work and visit there. So that's who we pay attention to. And what happens is certain things emerge. What we'll do is provide you with what we come up with as emerging themes. And from those emerging themes, the recommendations evolve. And the recommendations come as a result of the expertise that we have in being able to sort of transform, you know, and interpret what people are saying they want and what they need. So that it really is pretty satisfying, actually, because the recommendations are so focused and so responsive to what we've heard. And that particular phase is the longest portion of the work itself. And we all like to be there. We want to interact with people. We make a point of being available and going in and out of places where we know that people will be hanging out.
Any other questions? I did have a question about just engaging local artists. Because we have a small but mighty arts community in Brisbane. One thing that you probably know is that we're very small. And it's almost like a family.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that some people in our community have a lot of real strong opinions about what art they want to see. And I would hate for other voices to get lost. In any family, you always have somebody who's louder than the others, you know. And anyways, Tom.
Yeah, look at
I would
Tom.
just like to know how you engage local artists, how you take their views into consideration. Because I think it's an important community, but it's a very diverse community, as you know. So anyways, those are just my comments and whatever you could say towards that.
You want
Gail, I can start it off. We completely understand what you just said, and we have experienced that in many places. And I would like to use a different example before I add to it. The city of Richmond, we worked on the public art master plan and just finished that, and very strong arts community. I know that they're larger, but they're that sense, like with the way that you described as with your arts community, it sounds like similar to what we experienced there. And for us, it was incredibly important to make sure that we went above and beyond to be present for them, whether it was being there in person. If somebody could not shared with us that they were very interested in being a part of the conversation, but they could not be at a conversation, we made it a point to have a one-on-one interview with them. We held both an online and an in-person community meeting. So we did 2 different focus groups for artists. And then we had an additional focus group for Black, Indigenous, people of color artists. So, we really didn't want anybody to feel left out. Additionally, we were told by city council members, reach out to this person who's connected to these artists, from a certain business district, because they often feel like they're not heard. And so we did that. And I'd say that for it being in all honesty, a tough project, we had a great response from that artist collective, and they were really very appreciative of our presence and the effort that we did to go above and beyond and be present for them in all the ways that we were. So I don't know if you want to add to that, Quinn, but how we would do that in Brisbane.
One of the things, not only having those specific focus groups, but really reaching out to the different community partners that are in Brisbane, and community leaders. So whether they're identified by your city staff or a committee, or whether they're identified by people within the community, we like meeting those community leaders or those emerging leaders. So that they can learn how to advocate. Because we know that this experience of bringing public art into the city, it doesn't just, not only is it just within the involvement of the city as well as the community at large, but what happens when more future generations either move or move away or start moving in. You have to build engagement with the younger community. So it's also engaging the younger emerging community leaders as well, so that they feel they have agency and able to empower their voices as well. We know that with a lot of the community engagement, it's also especially important to be as accessible as we can. So especially having those surveys or marketing that is of different languages, so whether it's Spanish or Vietnamese or Mandarin or any other language that is of high demographics for your city, we want to be sure that the process is as accessible and understood in plain language. No fancy jargon, it's just art and what do you value when it comes to art, and when it comes to your city and what you value about your city. And a lot of times when we keep it as simple as that, we get the most engagement. And that's really exciting that your community of around 4,800 is intimate as you are, because that just means that the access and the outreach can be as dynamic. And I'm just really excited to see that if we do get the opportunity to work on this project, I'm excited to see the end result, the numbers of surveys and outreach, because we love working with small communities. We find them to have their own character and the gifts that they bring to their own culture. We love learning about it.
And I just want to add to a response to your question about artists. We're aware and actually pretty impressed. We were talking about this earlier, that a city of your size has the level of sophistication and commitment to the arts that you do. I have to say, it's pretty exemplary. And I've carefully reviewed your ordinance and your guidelines, and you're very much in sync with best practices, and that's a big deal. As far as the artists are, and we know too, you have a lot of annual activities or events in which you invite and recognize artists. So we know that, which is also kind of remarkable, that for a community your size, you have a pretty solid artist base. It's really important to us that, again, we are as inclusive as possible. We are pretty exhaustive in terms of the research that we do in working with all of you to find artists who may not be the people who tend to come forward. We also consider that artisans and craftspeople, and that traditional crafts and folk art, these are all artists. So we want to make sure that we provide the kind of environment or venue where they feel most comfortable, being a part of it. So we can, I did a project in Inglewood in which we actually conducted 46 individual artist studio visits, and it was extraordinary. It was really fantastic, because one-on-one is also a tremendous way, to bring people into the fold. So the bottom line, so much, and I know you know that as public officials and staff and community members, is that when people know that you're listening, whether you literally take the words out of their mouth, they begin to feel a sense of a connection, a sense of ownership. And even if what they said does not become a literal recommendation, by involving them, not just at the time that we talk to them, but to make sure that they get information as drafts are developed, you get, first of all, this great sense of anticipation. You have an amazing advocacy body that can come and say, we think this is great. And you have people who know that you care about them. So we really, and we know, it's not just the artists who have opinions, it's everybody. And it's kind of one of our favorite things to do, because we really like to find the commonality and what those recurring thoughts are, because we're not here to dictate the aesthetic. We're not the adjudicators of taste. And so what we want to know is what's important. How do you want people to feel when they're walking down the street? What do you want people to say about Brisbane in 5 years from now when it comes to arts and culture? That's what we're focused on, is really celebrating what is Brisbane. So the artists are a huge component of it, and we're very happy to, to talk them. And I've had situations where we may be talking to one group of artists and they say, oh, we know XYZ. And then in their home, they might host something with, 4 other artists, and we sit and have a salon sort of brainstorming. So we're very flexible, and we just want to do what makes, that will generate the best kind of involvement that we can.
Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I think we're going to conclude right now, just to be fair, the length of time with the other 2 firms. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Very excited and hope that we have an opportunity to work with you. And we also love, it's so great to have the art as the backdrop in your.
I know, I noticed that too.
Great. Thank
All
you.
right. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
So I would say let's do our discussions first, and then we'll open it up to public comment, and then make a recommendation if we come to a consensus.
Okay.
Did anyone have like a clear standout?
I personally liked the last one and the first one because they seem to have done their research on Brisbane and had like specific idea about what community we were. They seemed to know us, which felt good. And they are local, and that's what that would be
My biggest concern with designing local is just their size and where Brisbane would fit within the scope of all the things that they have.
I'm sorry, concerning with who?
They're with designing local.
Number 2.
Number 2.
And it's just their size is enormous. And I mean, I still have the same concerns that I had going in with their proposal.
Yeah.
That they are primarily urban planners, not, I mean, they have brought in other people, but they haven't. But I also, I am a word person. I listen to the words a lot. And I wasn't really getting anything that really connected specifically to Brisbane, to having done any research. It was a very generic kind of conversation about what they do, whereas both 9DOT and Goldman Associates, knew Brisbane. They talked very specifically about us, and that leads me to be very concerned about where Brisbane would fit within the scope of designing locals.
To follow up on that, what I noticed is that so they had the Joshua Lapp, right, and Amanda Golden, but then they had Todd, who seemed to be kind of like not part of this, like he seemed to be maybe a consultant or like I don't know, and they have another consultant that they're
Right.
bringing on
And
who can be here physically.
And that would also, I mean, the other thing that, that I was concerned about from the beginning with them is that because they have such a emphasis on urban planning, that when they brought another person in on it, they went for an urban planner to bring on this proposal rather than someone like an arts administrator or someone who had more direct curatorial experience. And even though they mentioned that they've just brought that person on, they've just brought that person.
I'm even wanting a reason to work with her.
Right.
And I was like, well, okay, well, this is your first time. I don't know if you're ever- This guy, Todd, it says president of Artful Places. So
Right.
it's not even with design. And it's interesting. And this is what we said when we were looking at this. I said sometimes, because we were kind of all like maybe looking at 9DOT, but being like, maybe that was like kind of the third. But I said, when you interview, like this was my total standout. But then when you interview, you pick up on so much more beyond the proposal.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was my,
I'll tell
that was my
you
third
what
choice
to say.
out of all.
Oh, yeah, see, you're like, this
No,
is
because I'm
yeah.
a word person and I was reading.
I'm a visual.
And I was and what I was missing,
Presentation.
what I was hearing was the urban planning,
Yeah.
urban planning, urban
Yeah.
planning, not arts and not
Yeah.
aesthetic, and how are you building a collection?
Mhm.
You want to know why Todd was there?
Right.
Because Todd was the connection to the Bay Area. That was the
Right.
only connection.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
only- And he
Yeah.
talked about that and I really liked him for that. But that was the only connection to us that I felt was
Yeah.
Todd.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Nine Dot is kind of coming out on the top.
That's how I feel.
I think they've got, for me, they have a lot of energy, they have a lot of enthusiasm, they also have, they've worked with both big projects and small projects. They had some very specific things about, the trails in Brisbane, the opportunities,
really-
things that are very specific.
Typologies.
Yeah, and I really.
I like their energy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was going south at first. I was like, this is gonna, they're nowhere in the.
I was for like coming back from all this technicals
Yeah.
stuff going on and still like coming in and being, okay.
In like 15 minutes, giving us
Yeah.
a really good idea. of
Yeah.
what they're-
Airports are like countries.
They're also the only people that really made a presentation.
Airports are
With
countries.
visuals.
Correct. And that Denver airport, I mean, I've been.
That's the biggest thing on the planet, isn't it?
Very
Actually,
beginning,
it's
yeah, not only,
beautiful.
not only the airport understanding, but the understanding of what the other projects they did. One thing that stood out for me with them is that they always spoke directly and in the moment.
Mhm.
When you were speaking, the Gail's, they had a script.
Yeah.
Everybody
was
had a
very-
script. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To the point that I found myself having to intentionally want to listen.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas with Nine Arts, I was engaged.
Yep.
Yes, agreed.
And
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think when you interview someone and you become engaged, because I asked the same question
Yes.
for each.
Mhm.
I was interested in what they had to say. I wasn't so interested in the response.
Mhm.
Well, definitely not the second one,
Mhm.
but even
They're very-
Gail's, I felt that there was
They were very
script.
We have so much time and we're so available.
We saw the scripts also.
So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
we did
just,
see the
that
script.
that was, right, that was just me. So for me, when we look at someone who wants to lead us through a master
Yeah.
plan within the community we have, I think it's really important to
Yeah.
consider someone who can speak on the moment, who can react in the moment,
Yeah.
who can engage and make people interested in what's happening.
Speak up.
Well, there weren't any men on Art Builds community at all. It's all female run business. So if I can just raise my hand as a
In which
male.
one?
There are a lot of
Gail
men that have a
Goldman.
lot of opinions in this
Gail
town.
Goldman, yes.
And they weren't for Nine Arts is what
No,
you said?
Gail Goldman.
Oh,
No.
Gail Goldman, you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
I've been really interested in Nine Dots because of the airport. I know how hard airports are.
Yeah.
And if you can navigate that, you can navigate this little town.
So what are your?
I think we're all in agreement.
Well,
No, you know
I think we are.
Okay, and you know what?
Oh, go ahead.
Did we
Go ahead.
ask them how we would deal with the distance because they're not local?
Oh, Nine
Do
Dot?
they have a person?
Nine Dots?
It sounds like they would, hold on.
It would cheaper?
they're just, no,
I mean, I think.
south, they're just down south.
They're just down there.
Yeah, not that
I
far.
thought, no, they're in Seattle and Denver. They're in Seattle and Denver.
Yeah.
No.
No, they're not local.
I think with most consultants, they would
Yeah.
do their legwork ahead of time to
Yeah.
And then
capitalize.
Yeah, and
I
I wanna say
don't
too,
see that, sorry.
and I wanna say that I kind of like the outside influence perspective because honestly, South San Francisco, I'm not that impressed with.
You don't wanna be
Or-
South City. You don't
Yeah.
wanna have the same
I mean,
South City.
I
2.0 master
I
plan.
hate to say that tainted me, but I think it did.
Well,
And they did Belmont as well, and Belmont's sort of similar.
but Barbara was on board, wasn't she?
Yeah, I was. That
Oh,
actually,
she's-
like, they've done so many projects in the Bay Area at this point, that actually, for me, was a little bit.
A little too cookie cutter.
You've done so much work here
Yeah.
There's a
already.
script going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, if we wanted, if we wanted what
South City is doing, we would just copy and paste their master
Yeah,
plan. But
right.
we want something
Yeah.
unique
I
to
just-
Brisbane.
And they kept referencing it the whole time,
Right.
like, oh, we've already done that, we already know about San Bernardino.
To us because they did something.
Right.
How stressed would you be when everything went south at the beginning of the interview? And then when she finally got on, they were cool as a cucumber.
They were,
Like in the moment, you
Yeah.
said in the moment.
They were in the moment,
They-
they say.
they
"This is
nailed
what
it."
We do.
Yeah.
They
It's our
nailed it.
passion,
And
and we
they-
think this way, we understand this way, we can juggle.
Here's my concern,
None
none of the people in the proposal are the people who we met,
Really?
No.
really.
Right.
So I love them, they're my first choice, I want them, but that gives me pause. And I think that maybe we could have, I told Noreen, shoot those people an email, because are we working with the people we just met, or are we working with these people we've never met? And I think that that's like I don't wanna work with, I mean, these people might be great, but like, if we hire them and all of a sudden we have a new team, these are just their salespeople that they sent in, right? And then I'm gonna be mad.
What we're
Right.
working with.
right.
Okay.
That's a.
I've already sent an
About-
email to their
Yeah.
director.
Oh,
to
you did?
confirm. Yeah.
On top of it.
Yeah.
Well, what if it is a whole new group? Do we?
Then we need.
Oh, I would say we'd have to re-interview because.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's the case, because then Olivia was like, you're primarily going to work with
With
Molly.
Molly.
She mentioned that.
Yeah.
And Molly clearly has thought about the balance, has thought about the trails, has thought about all these
That's
different
true,
things.
that's
She
true.
definitely, and it's probably, for something like an airport, it's gonna be a different team.
Yeah.
Like, they probably have different specialties, and if you're maybe more entry level. you
Probably
might-
go to them to get feedback and the whole thing, but they're.
Right, but I think that was kind of like.
Yeah.
A little bit of a oversight on their part,
I
that the
agree.
people
And
that they
maybe an
listed.
oversight on our part that we didn't have.
Or at least not to, or.
I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it till now.
Yeah.
Good point.
Good point.
Yeah, I was very excited about them.
Because you're right, this is project team.
Yeah.
This is not like company
Or executive team.
executive team.
Right.
This is
Project.
What do they
Yeah.
do with people?
Because it even says Denise Joseph provide executive level guidance and oversight to all consulting services for the city of Brisbane.
Yeah.
Well, that's
The
okay.
development
Oversight.
Art
Doing the
master,
oversight,
right.
'cause you're not the one on the ground.
But it says Stephanie Moore, project manager. We did not meet Stephanie. We met Olivia and Molly. And
Right.
Andrew, we definitely didn't meet Andrew.
It's so funny. I noticed that in the very beginning. Remember, I pointed that out to you. And then once they kind of started.
Yeah.
talking, I totally.
You're like, I
was
don't care.
engaged. I mean, I
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
forgot about
Yeah.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
Andrew's a studio admin, so,
That's so funny because I said.
Yeah.
But did they leave the page off?
That we see.
No,
No.
they gave us all the resumes for those 3 people and nothing for the people we even interviewed.
That-
Their
yeah.
resumes either.
Yes,
So.
I agree. I would like clarification on that too.
All right.
but
Yeah.
when Molly started talking about the Baylands, I'm like, she's done her homework.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's done her homework. Yeah.
Because I mean, nobody else mentioned the Baylands, and that's what sort of spurred my question of, we've got Sierra Point, we've got the
She mentioned
Northeast
the
Ridge.
biotech
Yeah.
hotel.
We've got
Yeah.
that
She did.
connection
She did.
from,
Mood board.
Yeah.
yeah.
I love the mood.
I was actually
Yeah.
thinking about your pushpin event and how
Danielle is the one who came up with
the
it.
pushpin event, yeah, and I was thinking of pushpin event, that's kind of their mood board idea.
Well, I like that they also said that they can give ongoing support.
Yeah.
Because I think that, and that's on a contractual
out with
basis, because we don't need a full-time person. We just need like
Don't walk
assistance
out
maybe
with
with
them.
projects here and there.
Yeah, that was nice. They offered that.
I really,
Yeah.
really appreciate that. And I also appreciate that they knew that part of the funding comes from businesses. And I think that we could do maybe, if it was the appetite of the community, of the council and of this body, we maybe might be able to tighten up our processes with interacting with businesses and figuring out how, like she said, how can we be on the ground level of when you're doing the development, thinking about the art in the beginning stages and not at the end when you're like, oh, we can't get our permit
Not
signed
an
off because we
afterthought.
need to do this. Like,
Yeah,
it's at the
and
very
she
end of phase 3. They're coming to us with their art,
And
right?
she said that, she
She
said,
did that in
she said
so
that.
many, if you
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah,
yeah.
and I liked that.
I like that.
I
And
think
but
for
they've already thought
everything,
about that.
everything we do, if we can put that hat on, I mean, I did some work on something else that will come to the public really soon, visioning a future. And what Clay said in a meeting to the people that we were talking to is she's trying to get ahead of it. If we can try and get ahead of it, because I'm thinking, you know, when you look at, you know, some of our older buildings, they're not going to be around for a long time. So I'm trying to get ahead of it mentally. What does that look like? And so if we can put that hat on for every piece of art we're thinking about, getting ahead of the game, even if it's not on the table today, it could be tomorrow. You know?
Yeah, and that's our job.
Yeah.
Having a discussion of.
Should we open it up to public comments?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have public comments? Also check email, see if I received anything via email.
Oh, I'm surprised because there was a hand raised in the earlier in the.
Tom,
meeting.
did you want
that
to
was for the
say
second.
anything? I don't have any emails for public comment.
Offer some help.
Okay, well, we'll close public comment then. So would you guys like to make a recommendation, or you want to say you have the recommendation until you get confirmation from
Yes.
Noreen
I would
On
be
the
happy to
project
give.
team.
on the project team?
I'd be happy to give recommendation to move forward, provided the project team is Olivia and Molly, so we don't have to come back and like. Just reconfirm, like, if it's Olivia and Molly, green
Let's
light,
go
if
for
it's
it.
not Olivia and Molly, then we need to set up another
Re-interview.
interview, which.
Yeah.
So I heard a first for
Second.
9 dot. Someone else, do we have a second?
Karen was second.
Karen second.
Karen
seconded it,
Breaking us up. so-
Yeah, I'll second.
You'll second.
Okay.
Okay, and roll call. We have Chair Greenlee,
Aye.
Vice Chair Salmon,
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Cunningham,
Aye.
Park and Recreation Commissioner Sewell,
Aye.
Committee Member Glassman,
Aye.
Committee Member Kelstead.
Aye.
All right,
That was very interesting.
that was great. Well, I'm glad that
Really good
actually everyone's in agreement, provided we find out about the team.
Like, gonna help it and then I'm making a minute.
Hold on, we gotta close the meeting.
Okay.
So the next meeting is set for Monday, Monday, November 20th. Can we just look at confirming that that is going to work for everybody? You can also remember we're towards, and not like I recommend you zooming in as a teleconference, but we don't have that many meetings left, so it's not like you'll be excluded if you haven't run your gamut yet.
Holiday.
Are we talking?
Yeah, I'm gonna have trouble with that date myself.
You're gonna have to exclude, I'm sorry, what?
I'm probably going to be out of town. It's one of my best friend's 70th birthday down in
That
LA.
sounds very important.
Yeah.
Is it good for everybody else?
Unless I have to disappear to Australia.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Okay.
But I will
Alright.
clarify. So
All right, so we're gonna keep Monday, November 20th. And I believe we are gonna be possibly bringing back the plugs, but we'll confirm.
Oh, yeah.
we talked about doing an offsite.
Yeah, offsite.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think we need to.
I know. But can we do that separately? Can we do, that sounds like a field trip.
It is, and it is.
Well, but we also invite it with the group. I mean,
The public has to be able to come.
public.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
like,
But you know, if you go at 4:30, it's gonna be dark in a half hour.
That's exact, that was what I was trying to.
with the
jump
time
in to say.
change.
Was it, yeah. I mean,
Well, we might then, yeah.
Yeah, can we do a field trip like in the middle of the day sometime?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that we're gonna need a
Still,
couple hours.
that would work.
As long as it's twice.
as long as it's not the 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not many other days.
It'd be the 21st. It'd be the 17th.
All right, let's go to this, and on
do the
Monday,
25th.
November 20th, and we'll try to solidify what we'll be
We'll tighten it
doing.
up.
We'll tighten it up and go from
Yeah.
there. So we are meeting.
Okay, yes, oh, yes. Meeting adjourned.
6:57.
Thanks.
6:57.
Um,
Thank you very
Uh,
much.
It
Thank you
is
for
at
helping.
the corner of Santa Clara and San Francisco Street.